Okay, so the Affordable Advantage program, Dana, stay right there. I want to take a deeper cut of this no down payment program. Will it spur activity, or is it just another crisis in waiting? Well, joining us now, Payne, public policy expert, founder and president with the Agenda Project, and Christopher Mayer. He is senior vice dean and real estate professor with Columbia University. Chris, let me start with you first of all. It feels like this is a case of short-term gain for longer-term pain. Is that right?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to defend kind of doing such a program. So it just seems, I mean, I don't even know what to make of this news. I mean,
So is it going to help the housing market at all?
I mean, not if we don't do it at big scale, but if we do it at big scale, we already know what happens when we make no money down loans, and it's not a very good idea.
Yeah, it is a very small scale right now, Erica. It's only in 4 states. Do you see it being successful in those 4 states and therefore spreading to other states?
Well, so first, let me just say, with regards to what Chris just said, when I first heard about this program, I thought, are you kidding me? Did we not just do this?
Yeah.
You know, so I had exactly the same reaction. And then I looked a little deeper, and I'm willing to have an open mind about this. And the reason I am is that there are a few things that are different about this loan program than some of the ones that caused a lot of the problems. And one is that you've got to have a good credit score to get in it. Another is that it's going to keep the rate at what it is, so it's sort of like you know what your payments are going to be every month. So I look at it as more of a rent-to-own program than some of the problems that we had where you think it's this much for 5 years and then that arm kicks you up higher. So I think, you know, we should give this program a chance and see what happens.
Okay, Eric, I just want to play the devil's advocate here. I mean, even if, for example, you do have to have a better credit score to be part of this program, what if housing prices drop further? And if you don't have any equity in the home, doesn't that mean that you're also more likely to walk away if things turn nasty?
Well, I mean, one thing that we found, which is sort of like the great unknown fact about the housing crisis that we had, is about 11 to 16% of the buyers in Fannie and Freddie's portfolio who were not subprime buyers, so people who had higher FICO scores and people who actually had equity in the home, did walk away from their loans. And this program is saying, you know, that the problem is not necessarily whether you have equity in your home or not, it's whether or not you're able to make those payments every month. So they spend a lot of time counseling people actually to buy much smaller houses than, you know, maybe a broker who is incentivized to sell that loan would have done. There's a story in the New York Times about counseling someone not to buy a $120,000 loan house, but to buy a $100,000 house so that their payment would be at a level that they can afford.
Would you like to respond to that?
Amanda,
Yes, Diana, jump
if I
in.
could just jump in on this. One of the great conflicts that you're seeing here, though, is that the government, on the one hand, is trying to give troubled borrowers skin in the game. They're doing that with the FHA short refi program. They're trying to give people equity back by making lenders write down principal in one enormous program that was just announced this week. And on the other hand, they're saying, okay, here's no skin in the game loan. I mean, which do they believe? Do they believe that you have to have some equity, some skin in the game to stay in the loan, or will they just do anything to get someone to buy a home?
Let me just jump. I mean, the evidence on this is actually abundantly clear. There's no doubt whatsoever. Lori Goodman at Amherst, everybody who's looked at this has found the same thing. It is the particular component that really messed up in these programs was the one which had no money down, which was sort of the no equity in homes. That is far and away the biggest predictor of default. And so if you're looking at somebody who's buying a home, even a more modest home, and by the way, there's no evidence that these sort of counseling programs really substantially affect likelihood of default, but you know, your roof goes, you have a $12,000 sort of bill to repair your roof. If you couldn't even save $1,000 to buy the home, how are you going to manage the $12,000 roof?
Chris, I think Chris makes a great point. And again, you know, when I heard of this program, I thought, seriously, are you kidding me? You know, we went down this road before. But there are some key differences, and I think what we have to look at is the fact that they've done 500 of these loans so far in Wisconsin. In 6 months, there's been no default at all. So let's just roll it out slowly. Don't expand like crazy, but roll it out and see if it works. Give it a shot, because we've definitely got to do some things that we haven't done before to try to make this housing market work more effectively than it has. I think that this is worth a try.
I think those are some really pertinent words. Let's just give it a shot. Diana, back to what you were saying a moment ago. I mean, isn't there a feeling that the government's approach to finding a solution for the housing market is very piecemeal? It's like, well, that didn't really work, so let's give this a shot. There are so many cross currents out there, it's almost difficult to know what exactly their solution is.
Right, and that you would call it piecemeal and they call it complementary. They say that they need all sorts of different programs to get borrowers borrowers out of trouble and get people buying homes again, whether it's the tax credit, which you could argue is just the same as a no money down loan because it was giving people the buying power, the extra money to get into a loan that perhaps they couldn't afford. You know, there's just so many different sides of it and so many different ways the government is trying to help. All we know for sure right now is that housing is not recovering as well as we had expected. And so if some of these programs are helping a little bit and you're not seeing the delinquencies that some might expect, then perhaps. But again, you know, we talk about, was it the no money down loans that Chris was talking about that caused all the trouble, or they would argue, was it the poor underwriting? They're saying that these loans are extremely well underwritten, and that's the difference that is going to keep them going strong for 30 years.
There's always a lot.
There's a lot of data, though. Go back to the sort of 1980s in New England. We also saw sort of no money down loans, even with better underwriting. You know, I think there's lots of evidence that suggests when people get underwater, that's by far the biggest predictor of default.
Okay, to all of you, thank you very much for that great debate.
Thanks so
Wall
much.
Street has